So, if your focus point for the short term is the parliamentary elections of next fall, you already mentioned this this system, more or less developed or promoted by Mr. Navalny of smart voting. Is that something that the powers that be are very worried about? And could that have played a role in the botched murder attempt on Mr. Navalny?
I can't very well comment about the botched murder. There's too much conspiracy theories going about and too little information. But I can judge by things which are not conspiracy theories or have nothing about insider information about them. And this is the legislative changes. I can see the most recent legislative changes implemented, or at least introduced, by the Duma members, by the United Russia members, and they all seem to point towards smart voting. These are the changes that will introduce the name of candidate associated with a foreign agent into Russian legislation. And this, I do think, is all about scaring those candidates that will be supported by smart voting from associating with this system, and scaring the voters from supporting the candidate which will be labeled the one associated with a foreign agent. What is smart voting? Smart voting is the instrumentalization of the protest voting. Yes. Protest voting is a thing we know for decades. It's been very widespread type of electoral behavior in the 90s. When a person votes for a candidate, not because he supports this candidate, he or she, but because he wants to oust some other candidate. It's the voting for anyone usually except the incumbent or the representative of the party in power. Smart voting channels this general discontent into actual electoral behavior, which in quite a lot of cases allows to dethrone the incumbent and to make way for the second best candidate, it's not second best, for the candidate who is the second most likely to succeed on the ballot.
Yeah, and so I know you're not in prediction, but
no, I'm not in this prediction trade. There are so many people there. I'm afraid of the of the competition.
But as far as you watch what's going on legislatively at the moment, do you think the authorities will be able to disarm this system of smart voting by that kind of legislation?
Well, we should not underestimate the effectiveness of legal instruments. If you have the power over the parliament, if you can more or less draft and adopt any legislation which suits your interests, then you can tweak and change the legislative frame so as to ensure the results you want. However, these instruments are only effective so far. Again, look at Belarus. I think the great art of the political manager is exactly in this balancing between repression and somehow answering to the public demand. If our political management, the conducting of election campaigns, absolutely moves from the civic state servants that currently do it to the secret services who have a very great influence on these affairs, then we'll possibly see sort of simpler, more direct instruments of repression and nothing else used. But then there is a catch as well. And again, here we can look at the great and famous Belarusian example. You can restrict the public sphere only so far.
So in the end, all the developments you described in your lectures in 2019, in which you say are still going on with some nuances due to COVID and everything, all these developments will, because there has to be a balance, will have its effect on political structures in Russia?
Well, again, the trends are long-lived. long-term trends help you in understanding generally the direction that the country will move in, which is inevitable. But they're not so helpful in predicting immediate election results. With the help of administrative pressure, falsification instruments, etc., you can assure an electoral result which does not reflect the actual state of the country's political opinion. You can do that. There is a price, but it is achievable. So I would subscribe to your formula, which is, again, a very
broad,
carefully worded one.
Okay.
Yes, public moods inevitably have an influence on political behavior and on political developments. We cannot say how it will immediately affect something which happens tomorrow or a few months hence, but generational change will happen. There is no stopping this. The 20s will be a different political period from the 2010th.
Okay.
This is the fact.
Okay.